It is hot in the library today, but that's okay. We will take it because we love hot stuff. Hello, my booktube friends. I hope you are doing well. I am so glad. Let me gather you all up. Come in, come in. I have a seat for all of you. I am so glad that you could join me. I always look forward to your visit. Welcome to my channel, The Grape Jelly Library, where we talk about all things books. I am a nonfiction reader. I love my nonfiction. I love my memoirs. I love my true crime. I love my history. But I also love a whole slew of other genres, and even those that I don't like, I still will dabble in. So if you're looking for a book, perhaps you have landed on the right channel. We cover a wide variety of books over on my channel. If you have not given this channel a subscribe yet, please consider doing so. I am over the moon elated because I have just taken my subscribers out of the 300 range and entered into new territory. We have reached upon the 400 landmark. Next goal for 450. Can you help me to reach that goal by hitting that subscribe button? Thank you so much in advance, and just know it would mean the world to me. All right, so spring is in the air. Oh my God, the bees are a buzzing, and the sycamore trees are budding. They're starting to come about, and life is starting to renew itself. So one of the books I thought I would bring to your attention in honor of a spring is one of my very favorite books of all time. I did do a video on this book about a year ago, but I've decided that I wanted to do an updated version of it. So here we go. Today I am bringing you The Honey Bus by Meredith May. I don't even need to know, look to see who wrote it. I already know Meredith May wrote this book. And for those of you who do not know who Meredith May is, she wrote this little, memoir about her life as a child growing up with her brother, and the hardships or the troubles that they faced. So I have so many wonderful things to say about this book. I will never utter a bad word about it. Meredith May was a young girl in the 70s, and she had a brother that was slightly younger than her. Her mom and dad split up, and her mom couldn't cope with the split, so she stayed holed up in her bedroom and wasn't the very best of moms. Sometimes life deals us that hand. It is up to us what we make of it. Luckily for Meredith, she had a grandmother and grandfather, so they were put on a plane, and I believe destination California. So two young kids put on a plane with complete strangers. And back in the 70s, that was not unheard of. That was the norm. Strangers conversed with them. No one harassed them. I don't feel that they were in harm's way or jeopardy. It was a totally different time back then. So to the grandmother and grandfather's house they go. The grandfather, now, he plays a key role in this book. I want you to keep your eye on the grandfather. Keep your eye on the ball. Stay focused on him. Stay focused on his actions, what he does, how he maneuvers. Just keep your eye on the ball. Now, Meredith is crushed. She's lost. She doesn't know how she's going to survive this. This is a huge change for a young one to have to endure. I once lived in my own house with my mother and my father, and now my situations have changed. Now my mother won't come out of the room. Who will take care of us? What will become of us? So the grandmother and the grandfather, you know, send them our way and we'll do our best. Now, the grandfather has an old military bus parked in the yard, and he uses this bus to raise honeybees. And it is in the life and the goings-on, the everyday proceedings of a honeybee, that Meredith is taught lessons. And she's able to take these lessons and apply them to her very own life. Who would have thunk that a little tiny honeybee could save a life? There is a lot to be said in that statement. That is basically what the book is about, how these honeybees saved a little girl from herself, from her destiny, from a situation that she did not ask for, did not wish for. So I'm going to, that's her grandfather right there. So I'm going to, by the way, there's several covers of this book. Mine looks like this. I'm going to just give you a little, since this is the only book that I'm going to talk about today, I'm talking about this book in honor of spring. And also, if you do not know what your next book should be, maybe I can, you know, help you find one in this book. When I bought this book, I bought it for my love of bees. I don't have the love of bees to the extent where I raise them, and I don't even study them. I just have a fondness for them and a great appreciation for the bees. I love to hear their little sing-song buzzing around the yard, and I just appreciate them. I love to see them little guys fluttering about from flower to flower. Now, I'm going to just read you this because this sums it up so perfectly. An extraordinary story of a girl, her grandfather, and one of nature's most mysterious and beguiling creatures, the honeybee. Meredith May recalls the first time a honeybee crawled on her arm. She was 5 years old, her parents had recently split, and suddenly she found herself in the care of her grandfather, an eccentric beekeeper who made honey in a rusty old military bus in the yard. The first close encounter was at once terrifying and exhilarating for May, and in that moment she discovered that everything she needed to know about life and family was right before her eyes in the secret world of bees. May turned to her grandfather and the art of beekeeping as an escape from her troubled reality. Her mother had receded into a volatile cycle of neurosis and despair and spent most days locked away in the bedroom. It was during this pivotal time in May's childhood that she learned to take care of herself, forged an unbreakable bond with her grandfather, and opened her eyes to the magic and wisdom of nature. The bees became a guiding force in May's life, teaching her about family and community, loyalty and survival, and the unequivocal relationship between a mother and her child. Part memoir, part beekeeping odyssey, The Honey Bus is an unforgettable story about finding home in the most unusual of places and how a tiny little understood insect could save a life. I think they mean misunderstood, but we know what they're saying. I could be wrong, but anyways, I recall a moment in this book where the mother finally does come out of the room and decides she's going to take her children bowling. And I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. But what I most want to say about this book is I read this book and I came out crying, and I had no intention of doing so. So if you plan on reading this book, I don't want you to go in saying, okay, well, Floss said this book is going to make me cry. Ha ha ha. I highly doubt that, but let's just see, because then I feel like you'll be building up a wall, and that's not what we want. I want you to be indifferent when you open this book and you read it. I don't want you to have any expectations. I don't want you to get ahead of yourself. No preconceived notions, nothing. Just read the book and see where it takes you. See where you come out of this novel. Comment below. Let me know your end result. Let me know, what did you think of this book? And also reach out to that author, Meredith May, because guess what? She very well may respond. She did respond to me. After I read this book, I decided that I was going to reach out via instant messenger and just put it out there, and never ever expecting a response. Lo and behold, I got one, and I was so super excited, because that is not my nature to, I mind my business, and sometimes I'm private and I keep my thoughts to myself, and I was just secretly going to love this book for the rest of my life. But something in me was telling me I needed to reach out to her and let her know, I appreciate all your blood, sweat, and tears that were poured into this book. Bravo, you did a phenomenal job. And never expecting a response, I got one. And ooh, that was exciting. Now, let me just clarify. Sometimes you will hear me say East of Eden is my favorite book, and sometimes you will hear me say The Honey Bus is my favorite book. When I closed this book and I did one of these, yes, The Honey Bus was absolutely my favorite book. Absolutely my favorite book. So sometimes you're going to hear me fluctuate between those two. And, neither one is a lie. Yes, you should read this book. I'm sure that if you have Audible, it's on there. And maybe, I didn't look it up, but maybe Meredith narrates it herself. I'm not sure, so don't quote me. But I read the book, obviously. I have my copy. It's a lovely book. And although her childhood was not my childhood, I am certain that I grew up with or around children that might have experienced similar fates. I will say, as a child of the 70s and growing up, many of us were latchkey kids. A lot of us were not supervised. I would dare be as bold to say perhaps half the population. At least everybody that I knew or hung with, none of us We were called home. Some of us were called home for supper. Some of us were not. But all of us, when the street lights came on, all of us knew to just head home. Some of us would push the envelope and stay out a little bit longer, but in general, when the street lights went on, that's when we knew to start heading home. And nobody came looking for us. Nobody. We were on our own. And, you know, I could remember coming home from 3rd grade and knowing how to get a pot and put water in it, putting it on the stove and turning it on, boiling that water and dropping a couple hot dogs in that boiling water to make myself or my sister something to eat. We were pretty resourceful and pretty independent. So there was that. So I could relate to that part of her having to take care of herself. Also, in the back of my grandmother's yard, on the side actually of her house, there was an old rundown school bus, and weeds grew around it, vines, and I hated that bus. I hated it. But all the while I read this book, I was able to channel that bus, and it put me in the story and concreted a visual for me even more so because of that bus. So now I'm a little thankful for that bus that I hated my whole childhood, but you know, in my adulthood upon reading this book, not so much. But anyways, if you don't know what you should be reading, perhaps you will read this. Perhaps you will reach out to Meredith when you are done, and perhaps this will become your favorite book as well. Until my next video, know that I love you. Be well, be good, be reading, and may all your book dreams come true.